receivers on Daily Fantasy Football, look no further.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
The stats have been compiled. The research is done. So come on and win a mill with D-Will.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy D-Will, and it is once again time for Win a Meal with D-Will. That's right, daily fantasy sports, and this week, just like last week, is brought to you by DirecTV's NFL Sunday Ticket. Know that you can watch every game every Sunday if you just call 855-946-6343. Again, that's 855-946-6343. Tell them D-Will told you to call and tell them that you want NFL Sunday Ticket for free. That's right, NFL Sunday Ticket at no additional cost when you get DirecTV for just $45 over 155 channels, all of your favorites, television shows, and you get them all for $45 with NFL Sunday Ticket. You gotta love it. DirecTV, once again, the number 855-946-6343. Remember to tell them D-Will sent you, so maybe they'll cut me a check one day. Hey, today we are going to talk about wide receivers. Wide receivers, we're going to go through, I've been doing my top 10 list, and we're going to go through the top 10 wide receivers, and then there's a few extra that I just want to be able to talk about a little bit. And then as we move into next week, when we talk about the top or my picks for week one, we're really going to get into this a little bit more. But I do want to start with something. I want to start with Chris Hogan, who is not going to be in my top 10, but I can almost guarantee that in week one, Chris Hogan is probably going to get selected to a couple of the teams that I choose. Chris Hogan is probably the number one wide receiver for New England. Tom Brady is going to be targeting him, and hey, for as cheap as he actually is, I don't see why you wouldn't give him at least the wide receiver 3 position. If not, then you would be at least, in your flex player. I mean, there's no reason not to pick him. He's cheap. He's going to be the number one wide receiver, and New England is going to sling the ball. You can guarantee it. But again, he did not make my top 10 picks at all, and so we're going to get there, starting with number 10. All right, so my number 10 is actually a tie, and I'm just going to tell you it's a tie between Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. I'm just going to tell you that I do believe both players are going to get a number of touches. They're going to get those touches often and a lot. Minnesota, in my opinion, is going to be a pretty decent team with Adam Thielen. A lot of people are deciding not to actually go with him for one reason or another. I'm still picking him in in my top 10 as one of those players who are going to get points and get points on a regular basis. You gotta love Tyreek Hill with Kansas City as well. I'm just gonna let you know that in the number 10 spot, I got a lot of guys that really could be there. I just watched a video of Tyreek Hill with triple coverage where he literally outran all 3 of the defenders. It was a pass that they probably would not have thrown if Alex Smith would have been there at quarterback. Luckily, he wasn't, and Tyreek Hill literally ran away from 3 defenders, and that play alone, to me, puts him at a tie at number 10 with Adam and Stephon Diggs, and that's just where I just think that he should be. Number 9. T.Y. Hilton. I believe that you're going to get a much better T.Y. Hilton this year. I know that Andrew Luck is going to be playing this year, which is definitely going to give him a boost from the numbers that he was at last year. And T.Y. Hilton is going to again be one of those players that's going to continue to or actually I believe have a breakout year from where he was last year. He's going to get a chance to show himself a little bit more with better quarterback play. Number 8, Davante Adams. And I'm going to kind of go through the list because I don't believe that there is a big deal here between all of these wide receivers. So I'm going to kind of run through the list, unlike I did last week with the running backs where I had a unique description of each one of them. I just want to try to give you guys a better understanding of who those top wide receivers are going to be. So number 7 is actually AJ Green. Number 6, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen could probably be a little bit higher. Michael Thomas, at number 5. Although, I mean, with New Orleans, you really just you know you're going to get volume. So Michael Thomas is definitely one of those players that you got to be able to pick. Number 4 is Julio Jones. I do feel like Julio is a tad bit inconsistent. I would wanted to move him down all the way, honestly, to number 6, but unfortunately he just had when he is up, it's way too good to actually push down. Odell Beckham Jr. At number 3, we didn't get to see him because of the injury a lot last year, and I believe he's going to come back with a vengeance and a lot to prove. DeAndre Hopkins at number 2, especially with Deshaun Watson back. I know that it's going to be hard for Deshaun Watson to do what he did last year. That's going to be difficult over an entire season. But one thing that we do know is that DeAndre Hopkins is a playmaker. He has a playmaker at quarterback, and the combination of those two guys, they're going to score points. No questions asked. They're definitely going to put points on the board. So DeAndre Hopkins is firmly at my number 2 spot. And number 1 is Antonio Brown with Pittsburgh. I don't really think that there's really any explanation that's needed there. Antonio Brown is going to consistently score points. I will say that at the very beginning, I'm not an Antonio Brown. I'm not a Pittsburgh fan at the beginning of the year because I feel like their offense will not click until at least week 3, possibly even week 4. To me, Antonio Brown is not going to benefit necessarily from a full regimented Le'Veon Bell, although you still have to respect Bell in the first couple of weeks. He's not going to be the same player, and that's going to obviously keep Antonio Brown from seeing some of the same looks that he's going to see later on in the year, in my opinion. There is a possibility that, again, you have to respect Le'Veon Bell, and so at that point, maybe you do still see the same defenses Antonio Brown has an opportunity to show out even in the beginning. But I'm just not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan at the beginning of the year because of the issues going on with Le'Veon Bell, him not coming in until week 1, not really getting any touches, not getting any practices even. I mean, even though Ezekiel Elliott hasn't seen any preseason play as far as games are concerned, he's definitely been in practice. He's definitely been working with the team, and you can see even in the blue-white scrimmage that they had the benefit of having him on the field. So I just can't give the same argument for him that I would for Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is not at practice. He's not working with his team. He is not building rapport with the offensive line, and for that, I just am not a big fan of his at the very beginning of the year. But with that being said, Antonio Brown is still going to be one of the top wide receivers. He's also one of the most expensive wide receivers in week 1. I'm not a proponent of picking him. I do believe that there are enough players, as I mentioned, players like Chris Hogan, players like Kenny Stills, who would be number 50 in my top 50 ranking. I mean, a lot of these guys down in the middle and even towards the end of a top 50, to me, Sammy Watkins players, Jarvis Landry over at Cleveland now is going to be able to definitely put some points on the board, even with somebody, because we don't know exactly what the deal is with the number 1 wide receiver at Cleveland right now. We don't know if Josh Gordon is going to actually be playing. I'm assuming that he will, but obviously with the injury there, it could go either way. Jarvis Landry is going to be a person that you can pick regardless. And so there are continued opportunities like this with players who do not cost what Antonio Brown cost, who works very well, especially when you get into week 1 and you just want to be able to grab a player. I mean, Keenan Allen only at 7,500. I believe that's where he is at 7,500. I mean, he's a great pick for me. I'm sure he's going to be one of those players that I pick up in the week 1, and we're going to get into that next week when it comes to wide receivers. When it comes to our week 1 pick, we're going to get into exactly where it is that he's going to be. But just so we can go over who I believe the top 10 picks are, I do believe that there is a tie with Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs at 10, T.Y. Hilton at number 9, Devontae Adams at 8, A.J. Green at 7, Keenan Allen at 6, Michael Thomas at 5, Julio Jones at 4, Odell Beckham Jr. at 3, DeAndre Hopkins at 2, and Antonio Brown rounding it out out with the number one pick. You gotta love it. Next week, we're gonna start trying to win a meal. That's right. Next week, we're gonna start trying to win this $1 million. We're gonna get into those picks very, very soon. Less than 7 days away, people. Tune back in right here at Win a Million with D Will. It's your boy D Will. I'm out.